Okay, I'd like to call to order. Today is Monday, June 4th, the Budget and Finance Committee meeting. Before we get started with our agenda, I believe we have about 28 items today. But before we jump into the agenda, just have some budget updates as it relates to the schedule for committee members and for council members. This coming Thursday, June 7th at 4:30 p.m., there will be a Budget and Finance Committee work session in a jury assembly room. That's the ground floor of this building. On Tuesday, June 12th, there will be a joint meeting of Budget and Finance Committee and the Planning Committee for consideration of the capital improvement budget and amendments. We are asking that you get your amendments submitted to council staff by Friday. Also, we will have a special adjourn meeting on 6 o'clock. That will be the third reading of the capital improvement budget. As you know, we do have to have that adopted by June 15th. On Monday, June 18th, we'll have a Budget and Finance Committee regular schedule meeting. That will be the consideration of the operating budget and/or substitute budget as well. And then, on Tuesday, June 19th is our regular council meeting. That's the third and final reading of the operating budget and also the tax levy. Councilman Glover.
Just very quickly, Madam Chair, I want to confirm with next week, the CIB, we're merely talking to pass that. We're not trying to rush the capital spending plan along. We've changed that, so we're not in the same tempo as we've been in years past.
We are not. Remember,
okay.
we are slow and steady up under this tutelage.
I just wanted to make sure that I remembered things correctly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. The important thing is to make sure that you get your amendments in. The link is out on the website. You're going to receive an official communication. I'm going to try to get that to you as a committee and to council members by tomorrow. Also, your reallocation forms are due tomorrow also. That is important that we have that for our work session in advance on Thursday. That allows the council staff a day to compile and for us to comb through on Thursday. Please make plans to attend this meeting. It's going to be a long meeting. Dinner will be provided. And again, that's this Thursday, June 7th at 4:30 p.m. in the jury assembly room. With that, we'll go ahead and jump into our agenda. So we have bills on public hearing. That's BL 2018-1184, sponsor Virture, approves the budget ordinance of the Metropolitan government for fiscal year 2019. Is there a motion? It's been moved and properly seconded. Councilman Cooper.
Thank you, Chair Lady. Just a couple of questions to start out with for the administration table. Thank you very much. The first question is, what is our 5% fund balance today, both the unallocated fund and then the rest of our reserve funds?
Director, there you go.
Okay, in terms of what the estimate is today, we do believe that balance is below 5% based upon the appropriations that have been made this year and the revenue situation. But we are, with the targeted savings, we are trying to get as close as we can to meeting the 5% threshold before the end of this fiscal year. We're trying.
In the rest of this month. So how much is it?
I don't want to say what the exact number is because it changes every day, but it's in the neighborhood of just shy of 4% was our last estimate of where it would be on June 30.
Okay, and the requirement is 5% of which total? 5% of the general fund spending total of both districts? It's 5% of the general fund total.
Right, and that's based upon an ordinance that was passed by this body for the operating, a resolution that was passed by this body for the 3 operating funds. And then finance further defined that policy to include the debt service funds a few years ago.
So all of them are at 5%. So it's a very knowable number with the administration budget, what the 5% target is?
Yes, yes.
It's a very specific number?
Yes.
Well, I would hope, would you share the actual balance numbers with your best thinking, and then what the target will be, of course, off of the administration budget? That would
Okay,
be
yeah,
a
we
great
can
help.
just update those numbers and report that back to you all because, again, the numbers change daily just based upon where the savings are going to be, and you've got turnover with positions and what have you, but we're trying our best.
Understand. Second question, and Chris was kind enough to talk to me about this. If you would go over the process on the one-time revenues, the sales of the land and of the parking meter revenue, what process are you contemplating having for the 38 million?
I'm going to let Steve talk to you a little bit about the property sales, but I'll go ahead and speak to the parking.
Okay.
The parking will be done through a competitive RFP process. And we are working right now so that we will be able to, should the budget pass as presented, that we'll be ready to issue an RFP shortly after the first of the fiscal year. And I think if you recall and go back to prior correspondence that I sent to the Metro Council, we had indicated that we would like to bring back to this body a recommendation on how we're going to proceed with the parking project in late fall, but no later than the end of the calendar year.
Okay, but you don't have, there are no bids yet.
No,
So this
no,
is
we are just
speculative.
The only thing we've done now is we're working on getting all of our background information ready so that should it pass, we will be ready to move very quickly.
And in the budget is $1,050,000 of parking meter revenue, and presumably that would go away during the year.
We
if you
don't
were to
know
sell
how
it?
that would go away. It depends on how the proposals come in. Okay?
But the certainty with which you would have $15 million, I mean, it's not very certain. There's not a deal out there saying that
No, we do.
6%.
We have. Yeah, we have no deal. I would say that based upon what we have received in the preliminary reports back to us, they have indicated that we could probably get close to half of that. That's only about half of what we could probably receive on some type of a concession arrangement. So we, in terms of what we put in there from a budget perspective, it's very conservative.
Well, but it also greatly depends on what is being sold. So you haven't prepackaged how many meters, or there a right to expand the meters, or their right to have additional charges, or what they're going to charge.
Exactly.
All of that would have to be
And all of that,
discussed.
those are the type things that are being put into a tentative RFP for for potential bidders to craft a proposal back to the city.
And then you are contemplating that the council would then have to approve that RFP?
Not contemplate, it would require the Metro Council's approval, my
So
understanding.
even if it was approved in this budget, there would have to be another approval.
Councilman, there would need to be some changes to the Metro Code as well, so you're looking at kind of an ordinance doing a number of things.
Well, it was also contemplated during the budget hearings that there might need to be a state legislative change as well.
There could be, the clerk has said that we will need to look at some state laws, and it just depends on the scope and how
So both
how the
Metro Code
proposals-
and a legislative
Right,
change.
so, but all of that does have to be reviewed, you're right.
So it's, okay. All right, and then on the real property itself, what process are we following? Or contemplating following?
Typically, the process for selling property is to first bring it to council, declare the property surplus, and at that time, there might be some determination as to the process that's being used. Typically, on a property, we would go through the e-bid process, which has been our standard process for some time. Now, there may be special situations that occur. For instance, on the Green Hills Fire Hall, I know that planning is interested in and has had several discussions with the adjoining property owner, Southern Land Company, who has proposed certain things, including affordable housing for that property. Now, whether or not that is even viable is unknown to me. The further complications would be in the situation with Burrell School, in that there's been some interest expressed by MDHA towards the acquisition of that property, and that acquisition would be based on fair market value. It wouldn't be a land swap of any kind at this point.
Okay. Okay. So again, walk me through this in terms of counselor action. There would be a council declaration of surplusing for all of the pieces of property. And
That's
then
right.
once surplused, you would follow probably an e-bid process, but conceivably private negotiation with MDHA, or MDHA would show up on e-bid.
Right. As I understand it, they would probably have to go to e-bid, again, to make it transparent, because it's a
Right.
bidding process which is available to the public.
Okay, once you go through that surplus process.
Yeah, if it's on e-bid. If it's not on e-bid, again, it would require council approval.
Okay, so council approval both to send it to e-bid and council approval not to approve it, but not to have it on e-bid.
Right, or if, a lot
allow
of
a
times, the
private
legislation
negotiation.
may go through, declaring the property surplus, and then outlining whatever the procedure is to dispose of the property, and probably identify the price at that time.
At that time. But once again, back before the council on identifying it, surplusing it, and then what process to follow with disposing of the property
That's
if it's
correct.
deemed disposable.
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
Appreciate it. I thank you very much for clarifying these one-time sales and getting a real clear process for us and the public. And then one final question, and again, I know there are a lot of other questions. The $11.5 million in departmental savings, why $11.5 million? What number, how is that number based?
What we did was we looked at the current year targets that we established for departments back earlier in the year, and we felt like that these were numbers that the departments could reasonably meet through normal savings in their departments, just through a slow hiring freeze, so that it would have minimal impact on operations. So we consider these just to be normal savings within departmental budgets.
So it's a number picked out of a range, an appropriate number picked out of a range. What's the high end of the range?
I think that, this is just my personal opinion, I think if you start going much higher than $13 million, then you are probably going to be impacting positions and services.
Okay, so there's
Okay.
maybe a little bit of
Just
wiggle
a
room in
little
that.
bit, but not a lot.
Okay, and this is savings in the normal course of business?
Yes.
And consistent with the natural surplus that,
Exactly. That's what we did this year, is we looked at natural savings that were in departments' budgets, and that's why I think you've heard departments, as they've appeared before you in these budget meetings, talk about they were going to be able to meet their savings targets for the year.
will this come out of the, have an undue negative push on the fund balance, since that money would normally accrue into the fund
No.
balance?
No, I mean, the fund balance isn't impacted.
And what was there an equivalent number for last year? I forget.
No, we did not have it actually in the budget ordinance. It was, that process was implemented mid-year when we realized that we had to make those other
Last November.
appropriations.
That's right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you, Chair Lady.
You had a good budget year, Councilman at Large Cooper. Just want to add that. You didn't have targeted savings. Vice Chair Schulman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is just a follow-up on Councilman Cooper's questions, the 11.5. Let me see, make sure I've got this right. So I know it's looking at departmental adjustments, departmental savings, but do we know kind of what they're going to be in terms of where we're looking for that? And I'm sorry, I can't see you behind that computer screen.
That's okay.
Yeah, there you are.
Yes, we do. We would look at what we had established for targets in the current year and work with the departments. And that's really why I think it went really well in the current year in terms of identifying those savings, is because the finance department actually sat down and communicated with the departments and talked about how we could achieve those savings instead of just sending a number so it was a collaborative process to come up with the targets. So I envision a similar process happening for the next fiscal year, where we would actually sit down and have those conversations with departments and not just kind of blindside them with a number.
Well, I guess my question's, can you, and you may not be that far along to be able to tell me, but do you look at everything? Do you look at contracts? Do you look at
Yes, we look at it
above the line, below the line,
we look
vacant
at-
positions, all that stuff?
We look at every single thing in the budget.
Okay. So everything is open?
Yeah, everything is game when we sit down for the conversation.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Council Lady Henderson.
Thank you, Chair Vercher. Councilman Cooper asked one of my questions, but I also wanted to kind of take the opportunity just to mention, as it relates to the potential parking program or curb management system. I've shared with the administration that I thought you all made somewhat of a mistake in communicating about that the first time when you're talking about the sale of real property. I think that is a program that has real merit for a lot of our city's strategic goals as it relates to, just parking and our bike lanes and our walkability and all these things. So from a parking policy perspective, the MPO has done a lot of work in that area and has done a lot of research building towards this conversation. And so that I would ask Budget and Finance colleagues, Chair Vercher, just to be mindful of the fact that I really would sort of separate that and not, because the way in which it was communicated was, the sale of real property and this parking management for the purpose of garnering the funds as it relates to our budget challenges. But I think that program, both from a budgetary standpoint long-term and just from strategic goals for the city at wide, has real merit and deserves a robust conversation. So I just hope it does not get kind of confused as being the same as just the sale of those two properties. So for what that's worth, I just wanted to convey that to the committee. Thank you, Chair Vercher.
That's a good point. Thank you, Council Lady. Councilman Mendez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have in the amendments package a substitute, and I don't really want to introduce it today. I did want to get it out for the public to see in advance of our meeting next week, and with your indulgence, I'd like to just have a couple-minute back and forth with Ms. Lomax O'Neill about what's in that, just so everybody is aware of that. All right. So first of all, the substitute's got 27 pages to it, and that's not my work product. That's Metro Finance was kind enough to put that together for me. Ms. Lomax O'Neill, I just want to confirm that y'all put that together and it reflects certain assumptions that I'll go through in a second.
Okay, I'll just validate those as you go along, sir.
All right. The assumption was that there was a 50-cent adjustment upward on the property tax rate for the GSD rate, and that the idea would be that that would cover basic expected cost through fiscal 21. And for this year in particular, it would fund the cost of living increases for Metro employees that we enacted into law a year ago. It would fully fund what the school system has requested. It would take the $38 million worth of one-time things we've talked about and just fund that rather than having the budget be contingent on those things, right? Yes. And what we talked about was that if those things were then approved through the council later, as we've been discussing, then instead of the budget being built contingent on those things, those proceeds would be available to go to the general fund to replenish savings, right?
All of that's correct.
And then the last thing for this fiscal year would be, it would make it so we didn't have to use any more of the funds balance to make ends meet this year, right?
That's correct. It's about $9.5 million.
And then so we don't have to go through this same thing in the next two fiscal years. All that the 50 cents would cover for fiscal 20 and 21 is the pay plan that we've already enacted known increases in debt service that we've got coming online no matter what, and assumed a growth rate of expenses that is less than inflation, 1.8%, as opposed to inflation running at 2.5%.
Yes, that's right, and that's an important point.
Yeah, because
Those subsequent years.
expenses will go up. And then the last thing I want to clarify is, so even at 50 cents, that's not, there's no new firefighters, there's no police officers, there's no really new anything. That's just living up to the pay plan, funding schools for this year, covering 1.8% less than inflation on cost, and known debt increases, and that's it for the next 3 fiscal years.
That is correct.
All right. Thank you, and I appreciate the indulgence. I'm not going to introduce it today. I think it's important for the public to be able to not have the 27-page document sprung on them, 12 hours before we have a meeting. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilman. Councilman Glover.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to just ask a couple of questions with regards to the budget, because I think as we get together Thursday night and we roll our sleeves up, it's going to be, drill down time to
Bring your coffee.
Yeah, try to figure out exactly what we're doing. So with that, I want to ask Finance. I want to go back to the $38 million. I want to expand just a bit on the question that Councilman Cooper was asking. The $38 million, if we don't approve it, how do we anticipate that? Number one is one question. And then my second question is, what requirement do we have under our current fiscal year in order to get us back up to 5%? Is there, I don't necessarily think there's a penalty for us not getting there, but it sounds like to me that we've moved from about 2.97 to what you're anticipating to be a maybe 4, because I think 2.97 was where we were a month or so ago. Yeah, I know, I get that. I know we're all trying, but I'm trying to figure out, if the 38 million is not a realistic number, and we also need to accommodate, let's just say 20 million or whatever it is in order to get us to the full 5%, and I'm guesstimating on what that number would be. What are the requirements for that so we can kind of understand what we're talking about Thursday night?
I'm not sure what the requirement is, other than if that $38 million does not materialize, then we have a $38 million gap in the budget that needs to be filled. You fill that through either revenue or expense reductions.
Okay.
Yeah, and also John is reminding me that in the current budget ordinance, we do have the Barnes Fund footnoted, saying that that allocation, that $10 million, is contingent upon the sale of those properties.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. And then, this will come as no surprise. I won't support a property tax increase, period, because I don't believe, number one, that we've got a money problem. I think we've got a spending problem. We've been talking about this for several years. We've been warning about this, but nobody really wanted to listen, and we just kept on and kept on, kept drawing money out of our savings account and kept drawing in order to operate. I don't know about the rest of the folks in town, but I'll tell you, folks over on my side of town are like, no, absolutely not, because we shouldn't hold them responsible for our lack of responsibility in how we've allocated the money and the way we've spent it. So I'm glad we're all looking at various avenues, but I think as we go through some of the rest of this conversation, we need to figure out how we do, just like households in Nashville have to do, tighten up and figure out how we operate within the means of what we have. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Councilman Glover. Councilwoman Allen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a clarification question following up on Councilmember Mendez's question, that the 50 cents that he has proposed in his substitute would cover known debt increase. Would that include the bond issue that seems to be inevitable in the next year or so?
Yes, it does.
It does. Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Cooper.
Thank you. And I want to appreciate Councilman Mendez and his work in trying to fit the camel through the eye of the needle here. A quick question on debt service, in order to be explicit about that. The current year's debt service at 292, isn't it, is up only 10 million. The next fiscal year, contemplating a delayed but another bond offering, what debt service will that
Our
be?
estimate right now is about $40 to $42 million next year.
42 up from the 292.
Yes.
Okay, I got to chew on that for a second. And then FY21, how much is it beyond that?
It is significantly lower than that, but I don't have the number in front of me. I know it's less than 20.
So this year it's up 10, then it goes up 42, and then on the order of 20, 19 or 20?
Right. I don't have the exact numbers, but it's less than 20. I do know that.
Less than 20. But it's on the range over the 3-year period of time of needing $70 million more for debt service by the time we get to FY21.
Yes, that's our current estimate within that range.
And that's not contemplating any additional borrowing, right? That's with a 0 CSP coming up for the next
Right. I
2
mean,
years.
those numbers wouldn't include
Would not
any
include
of those. But
any of that.
any future capital spending plans, though, would probably not hit
Would be
debt service
commercial.
budget, right, 3 or 4 years from now, that wouldn't hit your debt service budget.
Well, just because you're at commercial paper, but you are still contemplating a $700 million bond offering sometime during the fiscal year 19.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, and that's where the big bump up in the 42 million comes from. Again, I appreciate that, and I appreciate Councilman Mendez for keeping people focused on what a big hurdle that is. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Cooper. Councilman Mendez.
Thank you. Just one last thing. I think it's important for everybody watching to understand the scope of the numbers on trying to cut our way to prosperity. The reality is that any cut, I mean, we're talking about needing $150 million worth of new revenue over the course of 3 fiscal years. I bet you that this room couldn't agree on even $10 million worth of cuts, let alone 15 or 20 or 25 or 100 or 150 million. So if we have a really just astonishingly good job of reaching agreement and cutting 10, $15 million worth of expenses over the course of the next 3 years, we still got with the debt and the pay plan and inflation, literally a 9-figure problem still. And it's more than just a spending problem. Yeah, we're going to have to take a good, long, hard look at it. And yeah, constituents deserve to be PO'd about it, that we've got ourselves in this situation. But the fact is that we could spend the rest of this month looking for stuff to agree on cuts, and we would never ever get to the finish line on paying everything that we need to pay for over the next 3 years. So we're going to have to, we got to go through the process of figuring out what we're going to cut. Those are the times, and we need to do it. But I do respectfully request that everybody keep their mind open to the idea that there is $150 million worth of revenue needs over the next 3 years that we have to deal with. Thanks.
Thanks, Councilman Mendez. Councilman Davis.
Thank you, Madam President. I think everybody wants to find a solution. In fact, I know all of us want to find a solution. Like Councilman Mendez says, we have over $150 million worth of services and raises that we need to provide to the city and to our Metro employees and other things. So I'm going to talk about, some of the elephants we have in the room. And nothing against anybody, but, development has dropped 40% in our city. And some people may think it's good. Oh, we need less growth. Some people want more growth. And some people know without growth, there's no new revenue generated. But everybody's like, oh, here comes a recession. But when you look at the surrounding counties, growth is up. Development is up everywhere. From Chattanooga, Knoxville, Murfreesboro, Smyrna. And here in Davidson County, we had a significant drop recently in development. And, one of the things that we need to look at, and I'm just going to put it out there, the more development we have, the more good development we have, more permit fees. The average cost, to a fee, for a single-family home is $3,000. And that could be affordable housing. It could be any type of housing. And we do things in this city to restrict our growth right now. As some of you may know, that I used to have a lot of zoning bills coming through here, but I've not had hardly any lately in the last 6 months. Not because of a lack of desire, but, you got, I'll just say, you got certain people appointed to certain commissions that want to stop growth. And that's what happens. Metro staff is awesome. They're great. But, I'm calling a spade a spade. It's not the Briley's administration fault, but when you're slowing down growth on open, vacant parcels of blighted land, and then we're not seeing that revenue coming in, that same builder doing that is building other buildings and other homes in other places. So when you guys used to tease me all the time, man, you got 9 bills tonight, 10 bills tonight, but we've slowed down tremendously. It's been a good break for me so I can focus on other stuff, but there's a problem, and we just have to have a talk with ourselves, saying, hey, we need the money, and you're going to damage, I'll say it, your cash cow. Well, we're starting to see the results of this. Let's pull back and let's get in other people's business, So I'm just encouraging us to relook at this situation.
Thank you, Councilman Davis.
Yes,
All
thank you.
options will be considered. Seeing no other council members seeking recognition, there is a motion on the floor for approval. All in favor? Opposed? Bill is recommended. Vice Chair, do we need to re-refer this back to Budget and Finance? Okay, just want to make sure.
So thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, we should re-refer this back to budget. So I would make that a motion as well.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Bill will be re-referred. Thank you, Vice Chair. Now we're on to BL 2018-1196, sponsors Virtue and Betnay, adopts the 2018 through 2023 through 2024 capital improvements budget for Metro government for fiscal year 2018-2019. Is there a motion? It's been moved and properly seconded. Councilman Mendez.
I know you said this before, but I didn't catch when we were going to have the special meeting for third reading on this.
We're going to have a joint Budget and Finance and Planning Committee meeting on June 12th. We're asking that all amendments be in to council staff by Friday. We're going to have a special, it's June 12th. That's going to be the third reading at 6. The committee meeting is going to be at 5, the joint meeting.
So the amendment I've got in the package, we don't need to deal with that today about the
We do
float
not.
off? We can do it next week?
Correct.
All right, thanks a lot.
Vice Chair Schulman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's been a while since I did this, but do we want to re-refer this back?
We do.
Okay, so I would.
And I'm up here because I want to get it right. Like, oh my gosh, I don't want us to mess around and
Okay, so
accidentally
what I'd like to
pass it.
do is, I think I made the motion to pass this, so I'd like to make a friendly amendment to my own motion to re-refer this back to the Budget Committee.
Thank you, Vice Chair. It's been moved and properly seconded. Seeing no discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Bill will be re-referred. Good job, Hannah. Now we're on resolutions. I'll speed up a little bit right here, okay? All right. RS 2018-1223, sponsors Sledge, Allen, and others, authorizes housing incentive grants not exceeding $248,453 to certain organizations and development entities selected for the express purpose of constructing and converting workforce housing units. Is there a motion? It's been moved and properly seconded. Vice Chair Schulman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And this is a question for Ms. Zeitlin. So I was reading the analysis, and it looks like I was confused about where the funding source is. It looks like it was coming from one place, and then it mentioned the Barnes Fund. Where is this money coming from?
So I believe that it comes from the Housing Incentives Pilot Program, but, okay, finance, okay.
Good job, Hannah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Councilman Mendez. Sorry, Councilman Mendez.
On this one, I need to abstain, and I think I was listed as a sponsor. I need to be removed as a sponsor. Thank you.
Seeing no other council members seeking recognition, all in favor? Opposed? Resolution passes. RS 2018-1224, sponsor Virture, accept a grant from the Tennessee Department of Children's Services to Davidson County Juvenile Court to provide community-based case management and probation services to children at high risk of state custody. Is there a motion? It's been moved and properly seconded. Seeing no one seeking recognition, all in favor? Opposed? Resolution passes. RS 2018-1225, sponsors Virtue Allen O'Connell, approves a grant from the Nashville Convention and Visitors Corporation to Metro Government to help offset special event expenses to cover security and traffic control for the Nashville Predators Watch Parties. Is there a motion? It's been moved and properly seconded. Councilwoman Henderson.
Thank you, Chair Vircher. This is something that came up, I guess, in our earlier budget hearings as it related to Metro Police and to Public Works as well. So I know that our committee has kind of posed questions of the
Fire.
Pardon?
And fire,
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, to pose questions as to kind of how we make the decisions around these, which parties we, or rather events, citywide events that we put Metro resources to. So I know that I, through budget hearings, posed some of those questions. So I'd be interested to know how we arrived at this amount. Is this an arbitrary number? Is this a gesture? Is it a percentage of what we incur? How do we arrive at $150,000?
It's a con gesture nonetheless.
Indeed, no, much appreciated, right?
That's my
but
sarcasm,
also,
Council Lady. We'll ask Mr.
absolutely.
Hall to come up.
Good afternoon, council members, Chair Vircher. I've got Butch Spiriton, CEO, President of the Convention and Visitors Corp here. He is involved with the fund and the origin of it and can take you through those questions.
Thank you so much.
Good question. Thank you all. Happy to try to answer the questions as best as I can. And I think first, there is a difference in the events that Metro Police or Metro decides to support and the event fund. Almost probably 10 years ago, give or take, don't hold me to oath, the city was giving money to the CMA and realized they couldn't continue that. And we got with the hotel community and came up with a plan to add, at the time it was 25 cents, and then they moved it to 50 cents per room per night to create an event fund to support major events that had an impact on Davidson County. The goal would be $5 million in visitor spending. So CMA, Music City Bowl, New Year's Eve, July 4th, those major events. We keep a small amount to help incubate small events as well. Hopefully they can grow, either stand on their own or grow to the $5 million level and then apply for a full grant. We've gone, it actually was a state law. We came before the council and passed that ordinance, and we had to come back again after the sunset. So it's been approved twice by this council, but it's a very specific visitor spending generating fund. And the $150,000 was a gesture, and it was really how hard that we worked the police over the events that I named and trying to give something back.
I appreciate that. Can you tell us, please, how much that special tax for that purpose garners each year?
The fund generates, obviously it moves. This year it'll be about $3.6 million.
And then by ordinance, who administers how that's dispersed and when? What have you given out of that fund or appropriated towards this purpose over maybe the last 2 years? I guess I'm just wanting to understand this in the larger context
Sure.
of what you've done in previous years. And
Let me, there is a committee. It is appointed by the mayor. Currently, Ben Goldberg is chair, Dan Piotrowski, Mike Kelly, Erwin Fisher, Kevin Lavender, Colin Reed, and Miranda Ponce are members of the committee. So it's a mayoral appointed committee. It is a public meeting. It is posted in Nashville.gov. I'd have to pull the grants over the last couple of years, but happy to send that to you. I don't have that off the top of my head, but I could tell you the Bowl gets $1 million, CMA gets $1 million, New Year's Eve and July 4th get about $450,000 each.
okay, I appreciate that. And the committee that's appointed by the mayor is called what exactly for the
It's the
public?
Event Marketing Fund Committee.
Event Marketing Fund Committee. Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
No, thank y'all.
Councilman Davis.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair. Hey, for people to submit requests, isn't there a cutoff or a window?
There is a defined process. We open applications in 1st of March, so we post the guidelines. If there's any changes, opens in March. We take presentations in May, and then the committee makes recommendations in June. So it is open to anybody to apply. They have to submit the information according to the guidelines, includes budget, includes this year security plan was a new addition that we wanted to know what are they doing to make public safety a priority.
Gotcha. And where is it published? Or is it on the conventioner's website or is it on the city's website?
I know it's on our website, is it? Yeah, you go to visitmusiccity.com and the rules are posted there.
Okay.
We manage the fund, but we do not vote, and we have to apply just like everybody else if we want a grant.
Okay, gotcha. And so so it won't be open again until March of next year?
Correct. And we had almost $5 million or $5.5 million in requests for $3.5 million of available funds this year.
So how much is left out of this year?
Very little.
$5?
I'd have to give you that answer. I'd be guessing.
No problem.
But we tapped the reserve fund to help with a number of the big events over the past year, like Women's Final Four, NHL All-Star Game, events like that. And even with a request to help fund the NFL draft, we know we can't get the full amount, at least in 1 year. So there may be $30,000 or $40,000 in reserve.
Okay. Is there a way that we can do it so if different events submit in March, because sometimes the way I'm seeing it, and maybe if I'm clear, please correct me, a lot of the same events get the money almost every year. Because there's a lot of events that are coming up that have been asking, hey, how can we get involved in this?
Mm-hmm.
What do we need to do? And that's why I'm asking some of these questions.
But the primary purpose of the event is $5 million in visitor spending. So if an event can deliver that kind of return for the city, they're going to get serious consideration and they're going to get some funds. And then there are a group of events that we try to fund to nurture along.
And what if an event brings about 100,000 people to the city, which is important, but I can understand, 5 million visitors are important. But, basically what's going on is that there are a lot of very important smaller events, on the riverfront on July 14th and some other dates that bring in not as many as 5 million, but maybe 100,000 to 1 million visitors each year too. And can we establish a fund for those smaller events possibly?
Within the event fund, we allocate 3% of the collections that can be used to incubate smaller events. And they can apply and we can try to address it that way. But they do have to be visitor-oriented, or at the end of the day, the hotel community will let the bill sunset if we're not driving revenue and priming the fund itself through visitor spending.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Seeing no further discussion, Council Lady Gilmore.
Thank you, Madam Chair. How you doing, Mr. Spearden?
I'm great, thank you.
Wonderful. So I wanted you to speak a little bit more about the 3% to incubate the smaller businesses, and if you could share with us those businesses.
Again, I would have to pull the list, but I could use the Jazz and Blues Festival for Jefferson Street. We have helped fund that. We have helped fund Americana Music Festival. Doesn't meet the big threshold, but obviously both are good events, and we're trying to help them grow. I'd have to look. I can send you a complete list.
Oh, that'd be great.
We have audited records on all the grants, and I'm happy, speaking to the previous question, we can send the last 2 years of all the grants, both major and the smaller ones that were funded. An important footnote on those smaller grants, when we say we'll give some of the 3% money, we have to match, we being the Convention and Visitors Corporation, any amount that we give to a smaller event, we have to match that out of our budget. So in a way, it helps keep us honest as well.
All right. Well, thank you. And you
I'll
said
send that to you.
you'll share that information?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. And so it's just 3%, but it's not 3% of the smaller organizations, but it's just 3% of the money, just to be clear.
3% of the $3.5 million is allocated to go, so it's around 100,000, a little more, and we try to allocate that out, and it really turns into 200,000 because we have to match it.
I'm with you. And then you said you'll share if there's any money left in the overall fund of the 3.6 million too. You would share that?
Yes, I'll send the fund balance as it currently is, and probably what you will see is what's in the budget or what's in the account and what has been committed. So it'll be going out soon, but we'll send a full statement.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Resolution passes.
Thank you.
RS 2018-1226, sponsor Vercher and Murphy, appropriates the amount of $500,000 from the General Fund Reserve Fund for the purchase of equipment for Public Works Department of Metro. Is there a motion? It's been moved and properly seconded. Councilman Glover.
Thank you, Chair. This is to Budget and Finance. All right, so in reading the analysis, we've got about 5.7 million sitting in the 4% fund right now. After this appropriation of 500,000 and move it to 5.2 million. Again, just to where we fully understand with the 5.2 million, I doubt we're going to spend that before June 30th of this year. Is that a fair assumption?
Director Lomax.
That 5.2 is an estimated number that is provided in the analysis. That's not the actual availability.
All right, but let's assume it's over 4 million or over 3 million or whatever the assumption may be. It's my understanding that whatever the number is on the final day, then that's going to carry over to next year.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But we start all over with 4% again.
Exactly. So anything collected next year would just add to that total of availability.
Okay. And I'm going to ask Attorney Cooper this question. Again, as we're looking at revenues that are out there, et cetera, is there any way, if we're looking for cost savings, et cetera, is there any way in order to free any of that money up to where it's a 4% each year and it starts anew every year? Or does it have to roll over, and why does it have to roll over?
By charter, it would require a charter amendment for it to not roll over.
Okay, all right, so it would require a charter amendment. Okay, all right. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilman. Vice Chair Shulman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this is the matter referring to the salt bin. This is, I think, the third time this thing has been up here. Maybe the third time's the charm. I see Council Lady Murphy is a sponsor now of the measure, so I'm guessing we'll find out tomorrow night, but I think she's okay. So is this the same salt bin we've been talking about the whole time? It's over off of I-40 off of Charlotte Pike. So can somebody tell me what is going to happen to the salt bin? I know it's going to be torn down. Where is the new salt bin going to be put? And then what's going to happen to the property that's sitting there? And I don't know who to ask. I'm looking at the finance department, but.
In terms of the property, that's the 3800 Charlotte site, which is scheduled to be one of the properties to be sold next year.
Okay, so that's in for balancing the budget?
Yes, that's for one of those, that's one of the properties.
Okay. And how much money is that supposed to generate?
Oh, I don't have the number right in front of me because I've just got the total. I can give that to you.
Okay.
Okay. What is it, Steve? Was it like?
And then the question is, what happens to the salt bin?
South Fifth, I think.
South Fifth?
Yeah.
So it's exactly the same way it was when we talked about it before. It goes to South Fifth?
Nothing has changed.
Okay, so just on behalf of the people who get treated by that salt bin where it is now out off of Charlotte, what's the procedure to make sure that those roads get properly treated if that salt bin goes to South Fifth? It's the same questions we had before. I'm just trying to make sure I understand.
And I don't want to necessarily speak for Public Works, but
We can have Public Works come up. Outside your budget hearing, Director, this is your first Budget and Finance Committee meeting. Yeah. Welcome back.
Thank you. Okay, to answer your couple questions, the new salt bin will be at the East Center, which is off Trinity Lane. And the procedure to make, if I understand your question, the procedure to make sure everybody gets service is the same. The salt is loaded onto trucks and then dispersed throughout the county. It's very organized and planned thing, so we don't see this as a problem at all.
Okay, well, let me make sure. So it sounds like, at first I thought it was on South Fifth, but now we're talking about it's on Trinity Lane?
It's the East Center.
We're talking about the same site or different sites? Different site?
Right.
whatever he said is right.
Okay. All right, it's nice to be right. Okay, so so it's further away than we thought originally.
It is, Councilman, but we serve the whole county. We drive the salt all over the county.
Okay, but I guess just to make sure that we understand what's happening with this thing, obviously if there's a salt bin in West Nashville that treats that area, treats every Charlotte Pike and the Nations and Bellevue maybe, the places, what happens to, it's a lot further from Trinity Lane to treat those places than it is when it's that close. So I guess part of my question would be, if you're treating it out of that current facility off of Charlotte Pike, what area does that treat? Does that treat all of that area?
We have another salt bin at Smith Springs Road, but if you think about how we salt the roads, it's not, we don't do it in an emergency way. We understand when the bad weather is coming. We know what the routes are. And so the salt is loaded and it's dispersed around the county. And again, it's not done in an emergency way, so it's not like the fire department. We don't have to have salt bins next to each district. We can do this in a very organized way. And I want you to understand that the Public Works Department is completely comfortable with this. And we know it'll work.
I just, it always seems like it is an emergency because we get word that it's going to snow, and it doesn't snow, and then there's a million people going out to the grocery stores to get everything they need.
That's a different emergency, yeah.
All right. It's a different emergency. All right. So what you're telling us is the assurance that even if we move this thing, and I understand the importance of what we're doing, but if we move this thing, even if we're going to move it far away, certain areas of town are not going to be left out.
Well, understand, too, that the East Center is very close to the interstate, and so we can get and disperse the trucks easily.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Council Lady Henderson.
Thank you, Chair Vercher. Can I just ask $500,000 for a salt bin? What is a salt bin made of? Like corrugated metal in a dome shape? I mean, so
correct.
That costs $500,000?
And it goes on a concrete base, and then you have to take into account all the drainage and everything else.
Okay, so it's the base, the drainage, because you just don't want salt draining into our stormwater system, so it requires some extra. Correct. So the salt bin that is currently on Charlotte Pike, can it not be reutilized in some fashion, put on a truck and taken over? I mean, it's again, it's a corrugated metal arc of stuff.
The 500,000 is an estimate. We'll use whatever methods we can to make that work. I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay, so it's...
I don't know what condition it's in.
So we've not investigated really the best way to...
I don't know if we have or not, but we will.
But it's fairly new, isn't it? Right? Didn't we just move a salt bin over here a few years ago?
I don't know, but we'll check.
Okay, I think the public would appreciate that if we can just make sure that we're not spending more for a salt bin than we need to. And then, Chair Vercher, my next question is to the administration related to 3800 Charlotte Pike. Can you all just please refresh our recollection? Is this among the two properties that the administration mentioned as surplusing? And does this kind of dovetail with the earlier question of Councilman Cooper as to the e-bid process and so forth?
Yes, it does dovetail into that, and yes, it is one of the properties identified in the budget for sale. It's been contemplated for some time as to the disposition of this property. However, there are multiple agencies located on the property that have to be relocated to do so. And it's an over a 4-acre site on Charlotte, so it carries some value.
So in addition to the salt bin, what else is there currently?
We have some fuel stations used by General Services. We have a warehouse that the fire department uses. We have actually 2 buildings that are used by fire, in addition to the salt bin, and in addition to Public Works using the parking lot for parking.
Okay, so what are the implications then of moving a fuel station and moving a fire warehouse? So that's 500,000. What are the cost implications of the other 2 removals and so forth?
Well, I think what the fire intends to do is consolidate. Some of the equipment that's in there is surplus equipment. So they intend to consolidate down and move out to an existing Metro facility at Myatt Drive. So, and then as far as General Services fuel pumps are concerned, they will be relocated to another area, most likely the recent purchase out on Murfreesboro Pike where the old Kmart was.
And do we know what the cost associated with that is?
I do not.
Okay, so can we just make sure that we understand going forward, whether through a more detailed estimate from Public Works related to moving the salt bin, fire, warehouse, General Services moving the fueling stations, what are all the cost implications to Metro? And then obviously 4 acres on Charlotte Pike put to public bid. I mean, that is valuable land. So I just want to understand kind of the trade-off there. I mean, I certainly see the merit in developable land and getting that to the market, but I would like to understand what the trade-off is, please, in more detail.
Will do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council Lady. Council Lady Dow.
Thank you. I'm glad you clarified. I just want to say clarified about where they're moving the salt bin, because I recall being on council when we spent probably about the same amount, $500,000, moving salt over to this area and creating these community or regional-based areas to disperse salt from. And that was the reason why we had one put over on Smith Springs Road. And I would hope that Public Works would not plan to use the salt bin in our community to haul salt across town to other places, because we're already at the bottom of the list getting our roads salted out in southeast Nashville. And I think one other thing I will say is that we need to really look at how we spend money. because when we talk about being in a budget shortfall, you know, it was just a few years ago that we spent money locating the equipment there, putting the salt bin there, and now we're getting ready to spend another $500,000 to relocate it. And I would be interested in how we're going to go about, as Councilman Cooper mentioned, about surplusing the land, because what we know will happen is that it will go to some big developer and it will not meet the needs of the people in the community who continue to express concerns about how we dispose of property. So I just want the public to know this is $1 million spent to shuffle around salt. And these are dollars that could be utilized for other projects in our districts that are needed for housing, for people who are homeless, and so for all of these things. But we're spending it moving equipment around and salt around in our city. And that's all I wanted to point out.
Thank you so much, lady. This is coming from the reserve fund. Council Lady Weiner, are you seeking recognition? Are you council member or vice mayor? Which one? Can't be both. Floor is yours.
Today I'll be Ed Kendall since I'm at his desk and his microphone works. I want to speak just for a moment to the issue of West Nashville having access to a salt bin. If you remember in our previous conversations, what we addressed was the fact that we have a convenience and collection center site that's been identified on Old Hickory Boulevard between Council Lady Johnson's and my district, so that we'll be able to fully serve that west part of Nashville, West Nashville, Green Hills, more equitably in terms of salt bin location as well as drop-off, roll-off bins, convenient site, collection site. And so West Nashville is only going to be served temporarily by this East Nashville, South Fifth salt bin location until our future site is completed. And we're looking at maybe 2-3 years out, Sharon, Mark? Yep. So that should let everybody in West Nashville know that, yes, we're going to get salt back on our side of town. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Councilman Davis.
I love this discussion of the salt bin that's located in the Fighting 5th District. I'm more than happy to throw salt in the game a little bit here and provide it. I knew about, and I'm more than okay with, with the additional salt, in the neighborhood, because we already have a salt bin there at Trinity Lane right now at the convenience center, and most of the time that when there's a couple days or maybe 3 days notice of a snowstorm, those trucks get mobilized early. There's highway access going everywhere, and so if it's fine with Public Works. Is it fine with the administration? We're happy to house more salt and provide it for all of Nashville. Public Works people, more jobs over there. Maybe they'll buy some more houses. Come on over. The water's great. But just it's easy. They come out early, so they're salting the roads the night before the big snowfall happens. Isn't that right, Director? So there's I don't see any danger in not providing salt to the rest of the county, because they'll just have to leave maybe 30 minutes earlier just to get to West Nashville, because it's great highway access. And they salt late at night too, or early in the morning before the snowfall happens.
Thank you so much, Councilman. Councilwoman Allen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to add to Councilmember Henderson's request about making sure we've got some kind of an accounting for what it will cost to move the facilities that are already on that 4 acres on 3800 Charlotte. When you mention fuel stations, can we also make sure that we check whether those were above ground or below ground fuel tanks, and if there are any environmental implications to abandoning those?
Yeah, there are 2 tanks, both of which are underground.
Underground.
Both of which have had environmental inspections. The tanks are fine.
Okay.
They would be dug up, obviously, and would be either reused by General Services or discarded.
Okay, so those have already been checked from an environmental standpoint.
Right.
Great, so no surprises there.
Right.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you so much. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Resolution passes. RS 2018-1227, sponsor Vercher, authorizes the Department of Law to compromise and settle the personal injury claim of Megan Bookout against Metro Government in the amount of $7,500. Is there a motion? It's been moved and properly seconded. Seeing no discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Resolution passes. RS 2018-1228, sponsors Vercher, authorizes the Department of Law to compromise and settle the personal injury claim of Cumante Buford against Metro Government in the amount of $20,000. Is there a motion? It's been moved and properly seconded. Seeing no discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Resolution passes. RS 2018-1229, sponsor Vercher, authorizes the Department of Law to compromise and settle the property damage claim of Zakiya Smith against Metro Government in the amount of $15,548.62. Is there a motion? It's been moved and properly seconded. Councilman Glover.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to ask Ms. Zeitlin this first. So I'm a little confused when I read the analysis on this. It's talking about the pipes in a house going bathroom, sink, drain, galvanized piping, all the other stuff heading wrong directions, et cetera. How does this become our responsibility? Does Metro Water do this work? I mean, so I need to understand this.
Councilman, we'll let Attorney Cooper answer.
Okay.
So the issue is there was a water main that had some work done onto it or was replaced or something. And when they installed it, it was a Metro contractor several years ago. When they installed it, evidently it was at an improper angle, or there was some work done on the main that caused it to be at an improper angle. And so that's what caused the backup in the home. It wasn't the pipes within the home that caused the backup. It was the main backed up into the home.
So this was a Metro contractor that ultimately caused the problem?
I believe that's correct, but it was some years ago, and it wasn't discovered until this backup happened.
Okay, and do we have any option of going back to the? I mean, if the subcontractor is the one who made the mistake, if we looked at it, I mean, I guess we all share some blame in it. But if a contractor made the mistake, do we not have any?
If the statute of limitations has not passed, then we would have a claim. I think in this case the statute has passed, but that's something that we're investigating.
Okay. Well, then I guess the final thing I'll ask is, are we still using the subcontractor?
I'm not sure who the subcontractor was. Someone from Metro Water's here.
Yeah, someone from Metro Water can speak to if we're still using the same subcontractor.
John Honeysuckle, Metro Water. Currently, we are not using this particular contractor at this time. We are revisiting our protocol on situations like this. I do want to clarify something. That was a sewer line, not a water line that was causing the backup. That was a sewer line.
Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah, because when I'm reading this, I'm like, this doesn't make any sense on why are we being held responsible. Okay. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Sledge, comment on the sewer line?
Yes. Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to follow up on this just to let council members know. Thanks to Councilman Mendez's work, we had something happen that is, I mean, it is carbon copy, which you just described in my district as well, the homeowner. And and Council Lady Allen says she has one as well. So we may need to do some additional work to see if there's any tie between those. And Metro Water took care of that one. I want to point out.
We are truly committed to making sure that our contractors are doing the job correctly by way of our inspections and different things like that. So we will be more than happy to sit down with each of the council members and discuss anything further, any ideals that they could offer to help assist us with that.
Just wanted to point out that we may have some weird link here. So
thank you so much, Councilman. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Resolution passes. RS 2018-1230, sponsors Vercher and Gilmore, approves a one-key question grant from the March Adams Foundation to the Metro Board of Health to promote increasing preconception and interconception education for women of childbearing age. Is there a motion? It's been moved and properly seconded. Seeing no discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Resolution passes. RS 2018-1231, sponsors Virtue and Gilmore, approves a grant from the Tennessee Department of Health to the Metro Board of Health to provide food safety services, including restaurant inspections, foodborne illness complaints, investigations, environmental health specialist network assessments. Is there a motion? It's been moved and properly seconded. Seeing no discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Resolution passes. RS 2018-1232, sponsor Virtue and Gilmore, approves an amendment to a grant from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency to the Metro Board of Health to fund ongoing program to protect air quality, to achieve established ambient air standards, and protect human health. Is there a motion? It's been moved and properly seconded. Seeing no discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Resolution passes. RS 2018-1233, sponsor Virtue and Gilmore, approves an amendment to a grant from the United States Environmental Protection Agency to the Metro Board of Health for ongoing collection data on ambient concentrations of 2.5 fine particulate matter in Nashville. Is there a motion? It's been moved and properly seconded. Seeing no discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Mr. Sharp, can you come up and speak to the resolution per Council Lady Gilmore's request?
Is this about the, I'm sorry, Madam
We're
Chairman.
on RS 2018-1233.
Yes, ma'am. So this is specific to particulate matter, which was a program that came in after the original air quality monitoring process began. And so it has a different set of monitors. They're actually looking for physical little bits of stuff in the air. And the reason that they amend this contract, that both of these you'll notice come through here fairly often, there's a lump sum amount that we are due, but because of the way the feds deal with their money, when they find some in the couch cushions, they send us a little bit every now and then on both of these.
Thank you so much. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Resolution passes. RS 2018-1235, sponsors Virtue and Roten, approves a grant from the Second Harvest Food Bank of Middle Tennessee to the Metro Nashville Parks and Recreation Department to provide kitchen equipment for the park's after-school meals program. Is there a motion? It's been moved and properly seconded. Seeing no discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Resolution passes. RS 2018-1236, sponsors Virtue, Roten, and others, approves an amendment to a transportation alternatives program grant from the Tennessee Department of Transportation to Metro Parks to provide funding for the construction of a multimodal path and elevated boardwalk from the Cumberland pedestrian bridge to the Opry Mills complex. Is there a motion? It's been moved and properly seconded. Seeing no discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Resolution passes. RS 2018-1237, sponsors Virtue and Withers, approves an amendment to a grant from the Tennessee Department of Labor and Workforce Development Nashville Career Advancement Center to establish career services for eligible adults, dislocated workers with barriers to employment, education, training, and support services. Is there a motion? It's been moved and properly seconded. Council Lady Gilmore.
If we could have someone from the Nashville Career Advancement Center to come speak to us.
Patrick Holmes, Executive Director, Nashville Career Advancement Center. So this is funding that's coming in from the state. From time to time, there's other areas around the state that underspend their funding. When that happens, they provide the money to areas that have spent their funds. We always spend our money. So we got a small addition to our yearly grant funds to continue providing the services we always provide.
Very good, thank you. I also have one follow-up question, too. I know there were maybe some meetings about where I guess kind of the headquarters would be for the Career Advancement Center.
Yeah, so we've had discussions about where our career center will be located in the future. Currently, we're out in Metro Center in the old Nashville Gas Building. It is a lovely building, but it's not very accessible, so we're exploring options to move that facility into the community to make it more accessible to the residents that need it.
So how does that look when you say into the community? You have satellites or what?
Well, yeah, so the idea is to take one large center, break it up into multiple smaller centers in, the north side of town, the south side of town, looking pretty much all different varieties, partnering with Nashville State, local community-based organizations about where we can really meet the need the most and make it as easy as possible for people to access our services.
Okay, and then I had one more follow-up question too. In terms of, I know that you have been the kind of the holder of the grants. Will you still be going forth in the future, or will there be some other counties that will be handling that now, or is Nashville still going to be the particular?
So that is something that is under discussion with the administration. The state workforce board and the governor approved a couple weeks ago to realign the workforce areas. Our area of Davidson, Rutherford, Wilson, and Trousdale counties is merging with an area next door to ours. Currently, Metro government's the fiscal agent for our funding, and there's a nonprofit that's the fiscal agent for the area we're merging with. And so it's under discussion with the administration about who will be the fiscal agent going forward and will receive those grant fundings.
So is it an administration decision, or is it something that's decided at the state, but that the board that voted on it? That's the piece I'm not clear about.
The board voted to realign what the areas will be. It's the local area's determination about who the grant recipient will be, and so that is decided by Mayor Briley and the other mayors in the area.
Okay, and so does Mayor Briley have sole discretion, or he has to work with the other mayors to decide if we'll still be the fiscal agent or not?
He has to work with the other mayors.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted, I think we should be very vigilant about that and the monies that are distributed, because I do think if it goes to other counties, we might not get as much money in terms of where it relates to the allocation of programs that really benefit our citizens. So just to kind of pay close attention to that.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Resolution passes. RS 2018-1240 approves an amendment to a grant from the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation to the Metro Public Works Department to assist in the annual operation, maintenance, and facility improvements of household hazardous waste collection facility. Is there a motion? It's been moved and properly seconded. Seeing no discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Resolution passes. RS 2018-1241 sponsors Dow, Virtue, and others, amends an intergovernmental agreement between the Tennessee Department of Transportation to the Department of Public Works for the acceptance of all phases of work and the interchange modification on I-24 East. Is there a motion? It's been moved and properly seconded. Councilman Glover.
Just very quickly, if I could, you, Chair, are the sponsor here. Obviously, we saw the news, and unfortunately, one of the businesses that was planned there is not coming. But that really doesn't change, and hearing the story doesn't change the plan, doesn't change the commitment by the developers and what we're doing for the overall area,
That
correct?
is correct.
All right, so it won't affect the money at all in this?
No.
Okay, all right, thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilman. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Resolution passes. RS 2018-1243 sponsors Glover and Swope request investment committee of the Metro Employee Benefit Board, the Metro Finance Department, and the Metro Office of the Treasurer to review contracts regarding the management of Metro's pension fund and explore other options. Is there a motion? It's been moved and properly seconded. I believe there's an amendment. Councilman Glover.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I would like to move the amendment on this and just give a brief explanation.
Thank you so much. Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Now we're on the bill as amended.
Bill is
Resolution is amended.
All right, so what this simply does, and I'll get Ms. Lomax, Director Lomax, to confirm this. We had put in a date asking for a report to come back to us in probably an unrealistic time. The next meeting of the investment committee is tomorrow, if I remember correctly. And so this really would have made it virtually impossible for them to get the information. So what this amendment does is cleans that up. And it says, you know, within a week after their next meeting, well, they are meeting tomorrow, but this won't actually pass till tomorrow night. So we're actually talking about July before they've got anything that they would be bringing back. And I want to just emphasize to all the employees and everybody that's on the pension plan here, this is not affecting anything at all with the pension plan. It's merely who manages the money. because it's my belief that there's probably a tremendous savings that could be available to the taxpayers and to the people that receive the pension. And so that's one reason that I've asked that we look into this arena to find out if there might be some cost savings that we can look into. Also realizing we don't have the authority to make it happen, just the authority to ask them to take a look at it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much for that clarity, Councilman. Vice Chair Schulman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'm just clarifying with Councilman Glover, you are actually working with people to actually accommodate a group because it was just going to be too fast. Is that right? Let me repeat it again. You are working with other people to accommodate other groups because of the time frame.
If you're saying I've amended the resolution to accommodate the investment committee to where they can meet and realistically come back and talk to us for, as opposed to 1 week from now, then yes, that's what I've been doing.
I'm just thanking you because you're working with so many groups now. It's just different. So thank you so much.
I've never failed to try and work with folks.
He's been on a roll. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor? Opposed? You pressed it. You were seeking recognition again? Resolution passes as amended. Now we're on bills on second reading. BL 2018-1139, sponsor Syracuse. Is he? Oh, he's here. Okay. Is there a motion? Councilman Syracuse, do you want to speak regarding the substitute?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, we're making good progress. This is an amendment to the substitute. I can discuss it here, or I can certainly discuss it tomorrow night. I plan on asking you all to approve the amendment. And if you recall, we've already deferred this twice. So it was an immediate indefinite deferral. I had asked the clerk to put it back on the docket for tomorrow night, which means that tomorrow night we can't defer because it would be automatically withdrawn. So we're not there yet, and I do plan on deferring on third reading on June 19th. We have a little more work to do, but we have enough progress now where I'm going to ask everybody to please pass the amendment and pass it on second, and we'll keep working on it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I believe we did move the substitute, correct? All in favor? Opposed?
It was an amendment.
Okay.
Amendment.
Now we're on the bill as amended. All in favor? Opposed? Bill, Councilman Schulman? Okay.
And that's fine. Thank you, Madam Chair. What I was going to do was wonder whether we need to refer this back to the committee. Is it worth it to bring it back? I know the councilman's put a lot of effort into this, and I'm not sure because you're still working on it. Do you want to refer it back here? So I know we've just approved it. If it's okay, I'd like to make a motion to refer it back to budget just so we can take one last look at it.
Absolutely.
I think you need a second and then vote on it.
Roten seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Bill will be re-referred as amended. BL 2018-1172, sponsors Hurt, Syracuse, and Vercher, amends the Metro Code to set requirements for the Event and Marketing Fund Committee and to require annual financial statements from the committee. Is there a motion? It's been moved and properly seconded. Councilman Glover.
So I think this was the $3.6 million we were talking about earlier. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. Okay. So can I I was trying to read very quickly the analysis again on this. What exactly will this accomplish?
Councilman Syracuse.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Technically, this is kind of a cleanup bill. There's that, as Butch had mentioned, there's the state authorizing legislation that allows us to do this, and maybe even Hannah could speak to some of the language that was put in here just to make sure that there was parity between, I believe, the state authorizing legislation and the Metro Code.
Right, yeah, this would just mirror
the state legislation and the code, there was a little bit of discrepancy, I guess, in the original code, so this would just basically put the state requirements right into the Metro code.
Okay, all right, because I wasn't quite following that in the analysis. So, all right, thank you for the clarification.
Thank you so much, Councilman. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Bill is recommended. BL 2018-1185, sponsor Verture, establishes the tax levy and general services district for the fiscal year 2018 to 2019 and declares the amount required for the annual operating budget of the urban services district. I believe this has to track with the budget. It's been moved and properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Bill is recommended. Council Lady Henderson.
Just a point of order, are we re-referring this as well?
We are.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think because I think the community just sees us approving this and not discussing it further.
I was waiting on Vice Chair to hit his button for the motion.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we were. That's why I made the comment that it needs to track with the budget.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair Schulman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I would move that this bill also be re-referred back to the Budget Committee.
Thank you so much, Vice Chair. It's been moved and properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Bill will be re-referred. BL 2018-1186, sponsor Syracuse, Verture Syracuse and others, establish a program to provide assistance to low-income elderly residents of Metro government for the fiscal year 2018-2019. Is there a motion? It's been moved and properly seconded. Seeing no discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Bill is recommended. BL 2018-1187, sponsor Verture, amends the Metro Code to codify a fee schedule for operational permits issued by the Fire Marshal's Office. Is there a motion? It's been moved and properly seconded. Seeing no discussion. Councilman Glover.
Just very quickly, all right, so let's go through and again, just reading to trying to understand exactly what this accomplishes. So what will this do overall? Is this moving fees? Is it what does it accomplish?
Councilman, this codifies the fees that they're already charging, so there's no increase, no impact on the budget. This is just kind of a housekeeping measure.
Okay, all right, very good. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilman. Thank you, Attorney Cooper. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Bill is recommended. BL 2018-1188, sponsors Cooper and Verture, amends the Metro Code by inserting a new subsection in Chapter 2.24 to establish procedures for how-value real property transactions. Councilman Cooper.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I appreciate the engagement with the Public Property Division and with Finance. I look forward to working with them over the summer and amending this bill and bringing it back in the second meeting in August. So I move to defer this bill to the 14th of August.
Thank you so much. It's been moved and properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Bill will be deferred. That's to the second meeting in August, Councilman Cooper? That's okay. BL 2018-1189, sponsors Scott Davis, Hurt, amends the Metro Code pertaining to the Procurement Non-Discrimination Program. Is there a motion? It's been moved and properly seconded. Councilman Davis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to defer this bill one meeting to our regular scheduled second meeting in June, not the one that we have Tuesday coming up, but the third Tuesday of the month, if that makes sense. The June 19th meeting. Yep. With a brief explanation, please.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Basically, a much-needed vacation for Councilman James. For our attorney Jameson and Metro Legal gave us some feedback, and and so Thursday evening we resubmitted some changes. Jameson gets back tomorrow, so looking forward to getting together with Metro Legal and Jameson and putting together this amendment. And I didn't want to kind of be accused of shoving it down anybody's throat. So the budget hopefully will be close to being wrapped up, and we could dive in this on June 19th.
Thank you so much.
Thank
So
you.
you're still working on it. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Bill will be deferred. BL 2018-1192 sponsors Pulley, Virtue, and others, authorizes the acquisition of certain right-of-way easements, drainage easements, temporary construction easements, and property rights for the purposes of the Belmont Park Terrace sidewalk improvements. There is a letter to approve. Is there a motion? It's been moved and properly seconded. Seeing no discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Bill is recommended. BL 2018-1193 sponsors Rosenberg, Virtue, and others, authorizes the acquisition of certain right-of-way easements, drainage easements, temporary construction easements, and property rights for purposes of the Bell Forest Circle sidewalk improvements. Is there a motion? It's been moved and properly seconded. Seeing no discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Bill is recommended. BL 2018-1194 sponsors Kendall, Virtue, and others, authorizes the acquisition of certain right-of-way easements, drainage easements, temporary construction easements, and property rights for purposes of the 23rd Avenue North sidewalk improvements. Is there a motion? It's been moved and properly seconded. Seeing no discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Bill is recommended. Before we adjourn, want to remind you, committee members and also council members, that your reallocation forms are due tomorrow. We'll again meet Thursday, June 7th at 4:30 p.m. in the jury assembly room, and we are adjourned.